150 years Major League Baseball has been around, give or take. In that time, 13 billion human beings have walked the face of the earth, okay? And with that, approximately, don't hold me to the exact number, approximately 750,000 of us have been paid to play at any level. That's it. Not a million, not 5 million, not 1.6 billion, 750 GER. Man, that's it. That's all we got. And so when you're looking at that, it's like, look, this is really, really, really hard to do. This is really hard to do. And when it speeds up and everybody's around you, the genetic anomalies that professional athletes are, it starts to separate. You start to think about it. We're not, physically, we're not the average human. You can't do it. You can't do it. There's an anomaly there that comes with the athleticism and the coordination and all the physicality. And then the mental process is so separate from anything else that guys have to go through, because at some point you find your athletic equal, right? Okay, so all of that to say, these kids needed that information and they soaked it up.
Welcome to Mikasa, make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab, go create your move.
This episode is brought to you by Subway. What's good, everybody? It's 99 Miles Per Hour Podcast with me, your host, Percy Garner. And if you're new here, please subscribe and like. We make content about sports and interview some interesting people. Speaking of that, we got a special guest today. I'm excited. But before we get to our guest, I just want to remind you of my Discord. The link is below and has a link to join our community where we talk about baseball, and you can ask me any questions. We do video review. So I encourage you to go ahead and tap that link. And without further ado, let's move forward. So today, our guest is, we'll say he's been in baseball for a long time. And he is founder and CEO of Program 15. And he's the president of baseball operations for the Future Star Series. And I mean, the list keeps going on. He's a baseball analyst for CBS TV KHOU 11 in Houston. And he is the co-host of the Extra Bases podcast. So I'm really looking forward, and I want you guys to give a warm welcome, and we're going to learn a lot about our guest today. And our guest today is Jeremy Booth. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. So the first thing I want to do is kind of get this out of the way. So this is my first kind of episode with a guest of your caliber by myself, without my producer, Josh. I know he's missing this one, but he's on vacation. So he's going to make fun of all the errors I make. So bear with me. But I appreciate everybody listening. And I'm excited to get to know more about you. Now that I've been reading and more about what you got going on. But, there was an event you had just this past, what was it, few days, or was it the underclassmen combine? And I kind of just want to follow up and see how that went and just tell us what that's about.
Yeah, so, we're, first of all, as far as doing it by yourself, look, my co-host in Texas, man, Jason Bristol has like 30 Emmys, right? I mean, he's a sports anchor, he does all that stuff. I just get to show up and look pretty. That's the whole job, you know what I mean? So I totally get it. When it comes to what we're doing here, with the series and Program 15, we're in the middle of an event right now, which is a team tournament. It's a national championship. So what you're referring to, we just completed the class of 25 underclass combine. Now, on the surface, people would think it's a showcase event. Yeah, there's exposure that goes with that, right? I mean, it happens, but we're a development organization. And when we started back in 2015, The genesis was development. Now, I say that because I started when I left Major League Baseball working as a scout. I started, I saw a bunch of pro guys who weren't really getting developed. There was kind of a miss here. It was like scouting would say this and development would say that. You played, you understand. Sometimes those two departments don't always talk to each other, and the players are kind of left in the middle trying to figure it out, right? I thought there was a disconnect, and so when I was no longer with the club, I had a lot of people trying to come to me to train because they just wanted to find out what am I supposed to be doing here to live into the role and try to get to the big leagues, right? Because I'm not getting it over here and I'm lost. That turned, I started out with 4 or 5 pro guys, turned into about 40 real fast. So I'm getting asked to do these lessons. I'm getting asked to do these, this teaching. And I've never been a big lesson guy, man. For me, it's not something that, when I grew up, maybe I'm the old guy in the room now, I'm 46 years old. Maybe that's me. Like the lesson industry, I'm not saying I've never done them. The lesson industry isn't for me. It just isn't. I don't have a good feeling about doing it. I just the game was always paid forward with me organically, right? It was paid forward, like just passed down. Again, not against guys making money and being paid for their time. I'm doing the same thing, but the one-on-one lessons, just not something I was in love with. And so we put together some camps and some development feedback and like, okay, this is what your tools say you should be, and you fast forward, you take a look at the amateur space and you figure out, man, this thing's kind of a mess. Like it's all over the map, right? I mean, you got this parents doesn't know this and kid doesn't know that, and I felt a little bit guilty, to be honest with you, Percy, because, in pro ball, I've been in professional baseball for so long, 18, 19 years at that point, you're just so focused on your bubble. You're focused on what's happening with you. You're focused on the organization and nothing else. That's it, because it's such a dog-eat-dog situation, as you well know. You can be there one day, and the next day you might be at the house, and that's how that works. And so you got to figure that out about survival. So, I felt guilty. I was like, man, what happened? Like at all this time, where did this come up? And I saw people who genuinely needed some help. It wasn't just the pro guys needed some help. The kids needed some help. And it was more about, at that time, just understanding. They just want to know. How can I be what I want to get to? And I started telling them at that time, I said, look, 150 years Major League Baseball has been around, give or take. In that time, 13 billion human beings have walked the face of the earth, okay? And with that, approximately, don't hold me to the exact number, approximately 750,000 of us have been paid to play at any level. That's it. Not a million, not 5 million, not 1.6 billion, 750 GER. Man, that's it. That's all we got. And so when you're looking at that, it's like, look, this is really, really, really hard to do. This is really hard to do. And when it speeds up and everybody's around you, the genetic anomalies that professional athletes are, it starts to separate. You start to think about it. We're not, physically, we're not the average human. You can't do it. You can't do it. There's an anomaly there that comes with the athleticism and the coordination and all the physicality. And then the mental process is so separate from anything else that guys have to go through, because at some point you find your athletic equal, right? Okay. So all of that to say, these kids needed that information and they soaked it up. Now, with Program 15, which is really the evaluations and the player development focus and the feedback and all of that, exposure was something that, and you understand again with having that big arm and being able to sign in, exposure just happened. Just kind of happened. It shows up. When you do those type of things, you don't have to worry about the scouts in the stands or who's going to watch you, because they're going to be there. It's going to happen, and eventually you're going to get an opportunity. We've gotten into a place where scouts didn't know where to go, still don't. Everybody's trying to get a dollar hold, if you will, on a certain demographic. And it just became less about baseball and became less about proper teaching and became more about a rat race with confusion. So New Balance Baseball decided they want to get involved in something that was going to have an impact. And the genesis of that, of Program 15, now turned into the Future Stars Series. So the Future Stars Series is essentially the event arm of what Program 15 does when it comes to development and scouting. Now, since then, we've grown and gone different directions, and that's great. But for the baseball side of it, that's where we are. That's the Future Stars Series, and that's that's program 15. So the underclass combine, all of that history to get back to just one level of what we do, the underclass combine are the best players around the country that we've seen, including Canada and Puerto Rico, right? And we bring them together by class into an event. There's about 160 players. This last one probably saw 1,000, 1,200 players to get through that, to get to that number. That will come into a 3 or 4 day camp, depending on what we do. Athletic test. It's our formula. So, there's pro agility. There's a broad jump, triple broad jump, med ball toss. There's going to be a vertical jump that we do. There's a 10, 40, and the 60, and some Pelotero testing, which is force plates. All these things that we do, vision, sight, that other people are doing pieces of now, which is something we'll talk about off camera. But now, so people are doing pieces of that, gives me an athletic score. And that helps the players understand their athletic profile, right? Where the deficiencies are, what they need to do to be able to improve, be the best physical version of themselves. And we all know basketball is one way, football is one way, baseball is another way. Bodies are a little bit different in each sport for that reason. So helping them understand how to do that, helping them understand how to balance, cross training and how to be the best they can, and then how that applies to an ultimate baseball role. I would say it's safe to say you profiled as a reliever, right? Well, I profiled as somebody who had hit the ball a long freaking way. And if I didn't do that consistently, right, I wasn't going to have a job. This wasn't going to happen. So you had to be able to put that together. And these kids have an understanding of that as role building, we thought would guarantee the best level of success as roles equal value. So the 25s, we do that, watch them play some games, get that testing. We test it every time we see them. And the idea is that we're seeing these kids 3 or 4 times a year in different levels of base, different levels of width, and it helps them develop into something they're going to be. We're not here to replace travel teams. We're not here to replace high school baseball, certainly. We're not here to do that. It's a supplement. It's a guide in different places that allows them to have a high-level feedback and take it forward. And then from that in underclass combine, we'll select 50 players to go play this year's events in Fenway Park for that age group. Now, nice. We have two different Major League stadiums that we're using now. I'll say on your podcast publicly for the first time, there may be as many as 4, which would give us the only distinction of having that because the Major League clubs are all behind us. We got 26 of them, and it's something that they were very gratifying to be able to do. But that was the focus of the 25 combine. And so from there, we have a tournament now, 24 combine next week, which is for our main event. After those are done, there's a 26 combine. We'll pick all the rosters, and then they'll get 50 players to get a chance to go play in this in the underclass league in Fenway Park.
Wow, that's awesome, especially as a young kid and get an opportunity to play in a place like Fenway. I've never even got the opportunity to play in Fenway, so just to hear the story of how it all came together, where it started from, it's amazing that you've made it this far, and obviously you still have visions and things you want to accomplish. But just looking at it, if I was a kid, 13, 14, 15, I'm like, this is where I want to be. And having something that you can okay, I know this is what I need to work on, instead of mine was pretty obvious, command. But and I didn't need to run a 40 and 60 to know that I was slow. But it's for a lot of the players nowadays, and I kind of want to talk about an alum you guys have that I believe who's playing for my Guardians right now in Bo Naylor. But just to see someone go through the program and now is reaping the benefits, just got their first hit, then their home run, multi-hit game, and obviously his future's bright. Not everybody's going to be Bo Naylor, but right. And I don't want to jinx him. I try not to believe in jinx, but I'm a baseball player.
What it is, bro. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. It's exciting though that the kids have a resource, and I'm jealous, of course. We didn't have resources, but that's what everybody says. Back in the day, we didn't have this. But to see someone like Bo Naylor, who just got called up, who was obviously a part of the Future Stars series and all that stuff, what's that mean to you to be able to make an example see this player right now? He was able to find out, okay, this is what he had to work on to advance and better himself, and we were a part of that journey.
Yeah, so the thing about Noah, he's special a little bit to me, and I'll share that. in some greater detail. But the first big leaguer we had is a guy named Grayson Rodriguez, and he's with the Orioles now. Big starter, kind of I'm a scout, so I'm going to give you comparisons, right? He's a Matt Morris type, physical, big arm, 98 breaking ball. He didn't make his area code team. And the next year, he was the 11th pick in the draft. Now, he played in the area code games. He played with the Nationals, but he didn't make the Texas team. Came to us, a little bit of a slow body, 91, 92, could go get a 4, physical, 6'5", still thought he could hit. Great kid. Just one of the kids. He's like asking questions, and the eyes are wide. He's taking everything in. He's processing them, and he ran with it. He was in the same event as Bo, but he was the first one, and I'm so proud of Grayson to be able to persevere and work through. Now, look, the 11th pick in the country, you're not fighting a ton of stuff, right? But you're still fighting everybody gunning for you because you were the 11th pick in the country. So he has to get through all these different steps, the work ethic, the family, what he did to turn himself into that pick is a huge testament to his ability. I'm grateful that we were able to have some kind of relationship. We still do. I talk to the guys. I get personally invested in them, in their careers and their pathway. I'm always a resource. I prefer to check in on them when they're not doing well and to see how they're feeling as opposed to checking into them when they are. Everybody else is trying to do that. And they don't need me around when they're hitting 350 with 26 jacks and 90 pumps or 90 stakes. They don't need that. Okay. What they need me is when they're hitting 212 and it's been a bad month, and hey man, what's up? How you feeling? Back okay? That's when I let guys go play and be themselves. I hate it when people are on top of me. I'm sure you felt the same way. You got to have some space. And so I want to be the resource for them when they need it, because it's not about me. It's about them. So Grayson and I, we communicate. He hurt his back last year. I sent him a text with just, the eyes emoji, and he's like, yeah, my back ain't great. I'm going down. I got to get, it's one of those. And then he gets called up and mom tells me, and she says, you can't tell anybody he's coming to the big leagues. And, so those type of things are pretty good. And Grayson's great with the Nailers. And I say Nailers plural. That relationship started back in 2000. Well, I was scouting, so 2013. And Josh went 12, I believe, in the country to the Marlins, 11 or 12. So a guy named Sean Travers ran the Ontario Blue Jays program for a long time, and now he runs Mississauga Tigers. In Canada, it's almost all travel baseball. It's all academy, all travel baseball. And Sean turned out tons of big leaguers. OBJs, as they were known, turned out a ton of players. And, Josh went 11 in the country. So Sean and I developed a relationship over time. I was connected to the Baseball Canada scene, the players that were in there. We ended up drafting somebody in Seattle. Got to know them pretty well through being part of the community in Toronto a little bit, just as that part of my life. And Josh and I developed a relationship. And so, Josh, I showed up to the ballpark with Josh, and he's with Team Canada there in the Dominican. And I get on the first baseline to see him, and I got to see Mike Soroka's on that team, and some other guys. Just those two have had the best careers. Some other guys on the club, and it was 2015. So I mean 2015, and I go in there, and I'm looking at Josh, and Josh is stretching, and he kind of leans over, looks over at me, and I'm just standing there, and he gives me the head nod, I give him the head nod back, I'm like, you all right? He goes, yeah, I'm good. And Josh is such an engaging person. He's so great with what he does, so, he's certifiable. Don't kid yourself. He's certifiable, bro. I mean, Josh, I don't even want to know what he's thinking. That man is a bad man, He's just rocking the baby and talking about, he's slapping air fives, to fans, all kinds of stuff. But, Josh has so much fun doing it. And then there's Noah. And I saw Noah play through Sean, and Sean goes, look, you got to see this guy. He's Team Canada, he's Team Canada famous, and they don't think he can catch, and they're not sure he can hit. And I'm like, and Sean goes, I think he might be the best player I've ever seen. So Travers, he's telling me that. Now, obviously, this is, at the amateur level, right? Best I've ever seen. So I go in and I see Noah, and I wish I could tell you this was some kind of great scouting job I did. This wasn't hard. This one wasn't easy. And he's swinging the bat, and it's like, it's easy. Swings he's taking right now, that's him. Like the ones that line drive the other way, staying in the zone, hitting the ball out to left center field over the wall. I mean, to me, that's Noah Naylor. It's not the guy that's over swinging it and yanking a little bit. And I did get on him on Twitter about it. I did get on him. I said, stop trying to yank the ball. Just go back to hitting. Sure enough, bang, 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 bang. This is a kid who they said couldn't catch. They said he couldn't catch. Now, in Canada, Percy, most of the arms are getting 84, 85. That's what they got. 84, 85, 82, 86. They don't have a lot of now's a little bit different, but even 5-8 years ago, they didn't have all the fire that we have down here in the States. We have guys everywhere throwing hard, right? And that's what that was. So he just wasn't used to catching it. That's all. He wasn't used to catching it. He wasn't used to the speed of the game. He just needed to do it. But the hands were there. The feet were there. He's probably a 70 athlete on a 20/80 scale for me. He made a play the other night. You may have seen the pitch out or the ball that was missed. He went for a pitch out and the ball's over
Ridiculous.
the plate. That's a 70 athlete type of play, right? He ran a 6'4" in front of me on my watch. He ran a 6'4". It played that way, and it's such an easy approach. And I was like, bro, you're the best player in the world. And I had seen enough of it at that point in time to be able to say, this is the best age-appropriate player on the planet. And I told him, and I sat him down, and I said, hey, man, look, I don't have this conversation with, well, really anybody, because your brother was a first-rounder and went like a 12, but you can go ahead of him. You go ahead of him, and he should have. So, flash forward the next year, this is where I had a lot of fun. Noah shows up, does his thing. He's Noah. He's gone. Okay, cool. Next year, we're in the draft. I'm doing TV, right? So I got to do some draft analysis on the Astros, and the Astros is a whole nother topic we don't have time for today, bro. But, so I'm doing some draft stuff on the Astros, and I'm like, there's no way Noah's going to get to where the Astros pick. There's just no chance. Sure enough, there were opportunities ahead of them for somebody else to take him, and they just kept passing. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What is the deal? And now they don't know where he's going to play, and they don't want to pay him. So sure enough, the Astros pick is coming up, right? And I'm just going in the studio. I'm looking at Jason going, they're not going to take him. He's going to get there. They're not going to take him. They should, but they're not going to. Sure enough, bro, they drafted Seth Beer. And I was like, what just happened? What just happened? Seth Beer, by the way, is back in Double A. Okay? He's back in Double A right now, out of Clemson. And then 28th pick, the then Cleveland Indians select Noah Naylor. Now, the Indians have done a very good job of drafting and developing players. There's no way around that. Have they won something with it yet? Nah. But they've done a really good job of drafting and developing. And Scott Barnesby, who is their scouting director, might be a VP of scouting now, we're depending on the title, but he's on our advisory board. And so Scott and I go back. The Indians, actually, our Guardians, actually have quite a few players that have come through our system. If you're a guy in our stuff, they're all over you. And I give Barnes a hard time about it all the time. But Daniel Espino, future stars. Petey Halpin, future stars, right? So you still go down the list. They got some dudes in there, and Paul Gillespie and Ginny Melendez and the scouting staff over there.
Love
Brad
those
Graham,
dudes.
Those are my guys. They all do a good job. So, they take Noah. And the rest is history, bro. That's it. The rest is history, and he just turns into Noah. He's an 80 makeup kid. He's somebody that it deserves everything he's going to get. He was overlooked out of high school. He's going to change your clubhouse. I cannot say enough positive things about Bo Naylor. Like, we'll be here till like a month from now, just talking about how great this kid is. One of my favorite topics in the world. It's gratifying to have been a small part. I think if there's anything I did for Noah, it was he trusted me to center him a little bit. He trusted the feedback I gave him. Not he needed to hear, just the feedback approach in here. The ability is the ability. His parents and his brother, that is what it is. That's God given. That's got nothing to do with us. And the Sean Travers and the OBJs. They did a great job helping him. And I just showed up for him, I think, at the right time for him mentally to be able to process things and understand it. And to be able to encourage him to stay behind the plate, because I know they were doubting it, and I never saw any other position for him to play. I didn't get it. I was like, this is a Gold Glover. I don't know what you guys are looking at. This is a Gold Glover. So, as you can tell from our 10, 15 minutes together, I'm not exactly shy with my words. I'll say exactly what's on my mind. And so the Twitter world has to wear it for the rest of their lives. I said Noah's going to catch. I said he was going to hit. I would have taken him, up the top of the board, but he went where he went, and Cleveland's a good place for him.
Yeah, I got to experience, obviously, playing with the Guardians. Coming from the Phillies, wasn't a good marriage with the Phillies, but I just clicked with the people, Rigo, who's now the bullpen coach, was my pitching coach for a couple years. And I worked with Ken Knudsen down there. So
Yep.
I agree with you. They can develop talent. And I think obviously they've done a good job because some organizations I know his talent is undeniable, but there's plenty of talented people that maybe should have been able to, maybe didn't have Bo's mental makeup, but an organization can sometimes mess with people. Not making an excuse for myself, but
Are you being gentle, bro? There's organizations that'll just end your career. You know it. I mean, they get out there, and I can say it. You don't have to. I'll do it. That's
I'll
what I
let
get
you do
paid
it.
for. Literally, I'll do it. There's organizations out there that just end your career. It's like, oh, hey, I need some help, and that's what it is. Hey, what am I doing about here? I don't know, man. Go watch video. Right? And they don't do anything. You got to figure it out. You got to help you. So the Guardians do a great job. They really do a great job of evaluating. Tristan McKenzie, another one, do a great job evaluating high scenes. And Tristan also, somebody I've gotten to know, great kid, a grown man now. To me, again, not to be the old guy in the room, still a kid, but I mean, it's they've done an exceptional job of identifying, selecting, asking the right questions, and then role building. Right? They role build through. They understood Josh's makeup. They understood Tristan's makeup. They're one of the, and I'll say again, we can say this, but they're one of the more diverse organizations out there, not just in how they think and approach things from the bottom level of minor leagues through scouting to the big leagues, but just the player makeup. If you look at it, it's a pretty good cross section, right? You've got a little bit of everybody. You got the Latin infusion, you got the domestic flair, you've got the pedigrees in these players. To me, even without winning the World Series, that's where the Guardians are a model. I don't agree with everything they've done when it comes to the scouting staff, and I don't have a vote. I don't vote, but I don't agree with everything. But for the most part, they're a model when it comes to how they've approached player development, evaluation. And if I have a high school kid, especially a high school kid, and he's got to develop and grow, and I got an organization to draft him, they're at the top of that list.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's good to hear for all you Cleveland fans out there. Now, just hearing you talk about Bo and how Program 15 and the Future Stars series began, we know you're passionate, and we got a great understanding now of, what your mission is. But speaking of mission, I'm the director of an organization that's a nonprofit. And I kind of I was going to talk about your book, but I want to save that for last. I kind of want to quickly go over, because I love platforming organizations that are, got a great cause and it's undeniable. Like, okay, this is a positive thing. Let's contribute. And I know I've talked about RBI and stuff like that, but I want to talk about the Future Star Series Foundation. Now, I tried to look up a little bit of stuff, but obviously you're going to explain a little bit more than me. So just tell us about the Future Stars Series Foundation.
Yeah. So, Percy, when I found it, I guess I don't like saying the word I, because it's never an I. It's always a team. Right? There's a team behind us, team with you. When the Future Star Series Foundation was created, the whole idea was to help bring sports, specifically baseball, to families regardless of economic status, at a rate that allowed them to not make life decisions to go play sports. Okay, and I believe that baseball has gotten out of control. We have I haven't put these events on. I've been fortunate to have some pretty good partners and relationships, and other people do as well. But all those relationships, believe it or not, are built on either goodwill or they're built on revenue, right? And so if you go to a city to do an event, for example, that city's got to have a revenue impact. If there's no revenue impact on hotels and tourism and stuff like that, then you have to pay costs for these things. And so there's always a model that you have to create. Now, what we've been able to do, thankfully, on just the for pay side, is limit that to one round of event. That's the initial identification event, right? And then lower the cost of everything else we do to basically zero. These families, what they have to be able to do is pay for their own travel to a point. And then we take donations and we put on events, and we have these players have a chance to do one of two things: earn travel stipends back for themselves if they hit certain tiers when they fundraise, or contribute to other 501c3s. This year's charity of choice is No Kid Hungry. Last year, we did multiple cancer foundations, and we let the players choose where they wanted to go with it. We've rebuilt houses in hurricane-torn cities like Lake Charles, Louisiana. We've again done the cancer stuff. We've worked with the Jimmy Fund in Boston with Fenway. Before we were in Citi Field, we talked to the Boys and Girls Clubs up there in New York. Didn't do anything with them yet. Let's talk to them. The whole genesis of this, the whole foundational idea, is that if we're going to create these opportunities for you to be the best version of you can be, learning accountability, growing mentally, seeing players from around the world, traveling a little bit. If we're going to create this stuff, we're going to fund it. We'll fund it together. If we're going to do that, you have to make somebody else's life better, because I believe in accountability. And there's lots of people out there, if we're just being as honest and as just wide open as we can be. While I truly believe that I have earned whatever happens in my life, I had doors open for me. I had people help. I had people assist. I didn't get to wherever today is. I'm sitting in Brian Ryman's office at Lipscomb University while we have our conversation before I go bang out the weights down the hall. Okay, and I can say to you that I didn't get to this moment in time without help. Somebody helped me somewhere. Somebody opened the door. Somebody gave me the mentorship. Somebody pushed me. My parents raised me. My grandparents, we've all had those type of foundations. Not everybody has that. Now, I don't believe they should be, that we need to judge people who are trying to make an effort for their lives based on what their financial background is, whether it's $10 million or $10. I don't believe in that. I think that we all have our own lot in life, and we all have our own control, our own destiny. For me, the idea is, look, if we're as fortunate as we are to have these opportunities to be able to make something of ourselves, right? It's not promised. You still got to earn it. But I'm going to open up a door and give you an opportunity to make something of yourself. And I'm going to do it the best way I can so your family can rededicate resources back to your college education or into your life or into other brothers and sisters you may have, or to not have to look at the gas pump and go, you know what? Do I fill up this tank of gas or do I go buy lunch for a week? I'm going to try to open these doors. Then you got to go ahead and make somebody else's life better. That's the accountability I want to be able to teach through baseball. Going back to that number, man, we have 13 billion people walking the planet, and 750,000 of us got a chance to play it and get paid to do it. All of these children, all of these young men are going to end up being adults and fathers and husbands and doctors and lawyers and teachers. It doesn't matter. They're going to impact their community somehow. Whether that's a small bubble, whether that's a bigger fishbowl, whatever that is, they're going to impact their community. They have to understand these lessons of what it means to pay it forward. They have to. And the foundation is purely designed to make sure that these kids understand how to earn something for themselves, continue to earn every step of the way, because nobody gives it to you. Nobody cares. They just don't. Nobody gives us anything. Nobody cares, man. They're going to cry for you tomorrow. They didn't cry for you yesterday. And when you're gone, the people that loved you will mourn you for a minute, and then it's on to them. That's life. That's just how life works. And so you have to be able to continually earn it and realize that the world and the people around you, everybody you interact, is watching how you behave, watching what you say, listening, seeing what you do, how you approach it, and it's making an impression. Be accountable, pay it forward, make somebody else's life better. And if there's anything that I do in my life with a game that I poured everything into, and I do mean everything, that frankly doesn't care if I'm around or not. The game don't care. So the people in it might. The game don't care. And I got to leave it better than I found it. And I can do that through helping these kids get where they're trying to go. So, I think that was the goal with the foundation, was to try to make them have some level of accountability, be able to earn some things, and help some people who don't have the fortunate opportunities they do, to try to help them become something and a better part of their lives.
That's what's up. I mean, there's no way you can say no to that. So I appreciate you explaining that. And I mean, it's laid out there. It's obvious. We know the challenges of certain groups of people, or, whether you are blessed, like you said, or you're not. Let's help each other out. So I'll put the link down in the description on ways that you can contribute to the Future Stars Series Foundation. And then I kind of want to go in before we get out of here. I want to because, I'm going to be purchasing this book. I just have to decide if I want the Kindle version or the actual, making that decision. But can you talk well, first, I wish I had a copy to hold up right now.
That's okay.
But I think this is something that people aren't too aware of, and obviously you're already given some of the cheat codes to the kids that are involved in Program 15. But I think this book, outside looking in, haven't read it, I'm assuming it gives more inside look to how a scout thinks. I mean, it's called Inside the Mind of a Scout. So I'll just ask, why do you think it's been so successful?
So I'll say this: it was I'm very grateful that for a few weeks it was number 1 or 2, and mostly number 1 in 11 or 12 different categories. Right. The way that works is that when people buy them consistently, because it kind of goes in waves, right? You go up and down the list, and it settles after some time, and it's settled into a place where now people will find it. People are starting to leave reviews. I had a couple of Astros fans who I kind of made upset. Leave some really fake reviews on Amazon. My dad was like, "Hey man, if you're doing stuff like that, you're doing it right." I'm like, "Atta boy, that's what I'm talking about. Thanks." But it's been successful, I think, because the information that's in it is so parents can understand how to direct their kids. Now, there's a lot of guys and a lot of books who have tried this. It's not a recruiting book. It's not a story. It's not telling a story. What it is this is what guys are looking for. This is what it means. This is what data's like. This is what these grades are. This is how you get to here. This is the process to that. This is the, even events, navigating events. I run events, and I'm supposed to tell you that the Future Stars Series is the best events in the world, and every player that ever breathes should come through our events, and I'll be the first person to tell you that's not true. I can't say that. There's some players that don't need to be here. There's a different set of events that will help them the best, right? Now, from a player development standpoint, I would take ours against anybody, and I do mean anybody. But sometimes this just isn't the fit, and you have to be able to navigate yourself through things that make sense. And so that's in there, right? It's written so that players understand what a 40 grade arm is, and so they understand how to develop themselves to a 60 grade arm and what it means if you can hit, and that hit tool's in a certain spot, or play in the middle of the diamond, and that's what it's for. So it understands how to go ahead and market yourself, what the value means, and then a little bit of a guideline of how to turn some of these analytical numbers we have, right, into actual playable tools, some skills. So it's been successful, I think, because it hits the nerve. I think it hits the nerve with people that they want to be able to understand what people are thinking that they're not saying. Now, I don't believe in the term gatekeeping when it comes to this. I'll say a little bit of trade secrets, but I don't think gatekeeping. That said, if I sat down with John Q. Parent and I spoke the baseball language, truly spoke the baseball language of the 1% of the 1% that you've lived, that you understand, that I understand because you've been part of it, the head would just do this. There's just no chance you're going to get that. It doesn't work that way, right? You have to be in it and absorb it at a time. So it's really made down so that parents can understand. And I had Grayson Rodriguez's mom, she bought it, right? And so she read it, and she tried to post a review on Amazon, and it was, I'm not sure if it's been there yet, but it was exceptional. Some of the guys I signed, they got it. And they're like, man, I wish I knew this on the way in, the kids that have been here, and so I think that's why. I think it's one of the books that needs to organically spread. Hey, you need to read this, what I mean? Something like that. It's not designed to be sitting there, as a big display when you walk into Walmart. That's not what it's for. It's not that Walmart display where you walk in and go, hey, James Patterson. No, Jeremy Booth and James Patterson, two completely different planets of authors, right? But it is designed to be like, you know what? You're an athlete. You want to understand this. You want to see what they're looking for. This is what the makeup means. This is what the application of that looks like. Read this. That's what it's for. And I think with that mindset, it'll make a difference. Now, thankfully, I get to walk around and say, "Oh, best-selling author," and I am going to. I promise you that. I am going to make sure I use that. I drop it all the time. You know how to do this if you have my book, Inside the Mind of a Scout, available on Amazon, $14.99. I drop it all the time. Have a great time with it. It's something in my Twitter bio. I think I put best-selling author, comma, apparently. I'm just gonna leave it up there. I'm just gonna have a good time with it as long as I can. So I think for those of us that have lived it, looking back on it, it'll resonate, right? It'll understand, you've done it, so it'll resonate with you.
Yeah.
But for a parent coming in, if it helps you understand how to help your child, how to understand where to direct them, how to save some money a little bit, and again, I'm a guy in the event industry. I'm running events. That's what I'm doing. And I'm saying, wait a minute, time out. Learn your kid first. Learn where he's going. Understand the scholarships. Understand how to build that. Understand when is the right time and where to go. And then how to position himself. These are the odds. What does college look like? What falls into college versus pro ball? And I've been thankful to be able to have some pretty good mentors along the way that contribute to it. Bobby Heck wrote he's a special assistant to the GM with Tampa. Yeah, he wrote the foreword. I was incredibly humbled that he did that. I asked him to. I did. I called him up and said, hey, man, I got a request. He's like, what's that? I said, I need you to write my foreword. He goes, that's not a small request. I said, no, sir, it is not. I still need you to be able to do it. And he did it because the book just came out in May. He did it in the middle of the draft season. He's like, I need a minute. I said, oh, no gosh. Yeah. So, to have that type of relationship and respect and, rapport, brotherhood on this side, it's a special group and special connection. And what I think that we've all learned as we go into it is how much passion we all have to get back to it. And so hopefully that does that. And hopefully it's something they can run with and make something out of their careers.
Awesome. I also put the link to buy the book in the description as well, as well as your social media links as well. So
thank you,
dude. This content has been amazing. I appreciate you sharing a lot of the stuff. Obviously, you're not bashful. You're ready to share.
Shy? Nah, bro. I'm not shy. Nope. I'm not. If there's many things I might be. I might be tall. I might be brown. I might have, but I am not shy. That's nothing. That's nothing I am. So
we have that in common.
yeah, man.
Now I'm just gonna do one last question. And I wanted to ask one, but I'm like, you know what? So I don't know how big you are into content creation. I've been wanting to make YouTube videos since before I was drafted baseball in 2008, 2009. I was afraid to go on camera, but obviously it's a part of culture. It's part of people's resumes now. Do you think moving forward is going to play a bigger role in being discovered, even with resources like Program 15 and Future Star Series? Do you think you're going to see more and more athletes in general just making content of them playing and all this stuff and kind of, getting exposure that way? Do you think that's a real thing?
Yeah, without question, I think it's necessary. I think the more players can put together things that they do and stay at the forefront of that. Now, there's such a thing as oversaturation and overexposure, right? But that would apply to events on site at the same time, right? Whatever you can do to stay relevant. There's a couple of tools that we're going to start using. You know what, Percy? We're going to have a groundbreaking podcast today, so I'm going to announce something else with you. We just did a deal with Athletes Go Live. That'll be, public effectively this moment in time, but it'll really be public a little bit later, where players have the ability to do just that. They have the ability to train and put content together. And if Percy Garner is coaching at Ball State, for example, and he wants to see a player work out, he can flag that player and look at it and watch that player work out and train. That's all content, right?
Oh,
we live
wow.
We live in a content world. We live in a situation where people are looking for stuff and right here. That's what they're doing. Let me look at my phone. Let me see what came across. Let me watch this YouTube video. True story. I don't even watch TV anymore. I just cut my cable bill because I'm like, I don't do it. I watch the sports, right? I get my news from Twitter and the basic channels that I get. Now there's misinformation on these things, but that's where the stuff comes across. I have every app and every newspaper on my phone. I have everything I need to see at home. I watch YouTube, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and a couple of cable channels. That's it.
Yeah.
The days of surfing through 400 channels are over. So if I settle on YouTube and I want to see Percy Garner pitch, I'm going to go Percy Garner. Oh, there it is. Bang. and I'm going to watch. And I think that the more content you can make that shows you in a light that presents your personality, that presents who they're getting, what they're buying, because everybody's buying. They're all buying something, right? They're all buying something. We're all customers. We're all consuming. They're all buying something. And the more you can promote yourself as an athlete, the better off your life is going to be when it comes to achieving your goals. That content can be key. I don't recommend, creating it without any kind of guidance. I would say that for a young kid, you know what I mean? But I would say that doing it is certainly the process. And I think you were onto something, 12, 13 years ago, whenever that was, when you were trying to get it going, because it's a good idea and it's certainly here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I wish you could always say, I wish I can go back in time. I would have did things, but hey, I'm making content now, and and sharing information that I think is valuable. I appreciate you coming on the show. I know your schedule's crazy. You about to get a lift in, making me feel bad that I'm not lifting. But
bang it out.
Yeah, I got an excuse. My son's championship game I got to get to. But thank you. I appreciate you coming on the show again. And, maybe down the road we can make some connections. And once my wife lets me out the house, I can come check out some Program 15 and the Future Stars series to look at our future players. And, but yeah, again, I appreciate you. And this will be one of the episodes that I really cherish because I learned a lot new today. And if you've watched any of my old episodes, that's kind of what this is about. I play it off like, hey, this is for the audience, but it's really for me, and it's an excuse. But yeah, we're gonna have to talk some more, off camera sometime.
Of course.
But yeah, like I've said for the third time, appreciate having you. And we'll see you on all the socials. I got to follow you on Twitter. All that's going to be posted below. And excited to have you.
My brother, thank you so much for having me. It was great. If I would say that, all this content we talked about, you can find it Inside the Mind of a Scout on Amazon, $14.99. If you were Kindle version, $4.99, you make the call, you make a decision. But look forward to connecting again soon. And thanks so much for the conversation today.
Oh yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
Dude.
All right. I appreciate you guys listening. Remember to like and subscribe. We're on our journey to 1,000 subscribers. And, tell me how you like the set. I tried to make something out of nothing. This ugly wallpaper, it's all good. I'm trying to do the best I can. Can't wait to get Josh back. But, I'm liking the lights and this, Jim Hoey blessed me with this mic. And, all I'm gonna know, you guys all know I'm a nerd for all the tech and all this stuff. So I'm excited, but I appreciate you guys listening like always. And remember, link to the Discord and the link to, if you want to connect with our guest, it will be all below. So thank you guys. And we'll see you next podcast. Peace.